Hello, everyone. This is Mike with 30A. As you know, we are the Beach Happy Company, and we're very excited to be bringing in this pandemic, in this time of uncertainty. We are doing everything we can to bring you inspiring stories from the coast, stories that will not only hopefully provoke you to reevaluate what's important in your life, but ultimately that will bring you a deeper sense of happiness. And so we are interviewing a multitude of guests right now. Some of them live here on the coast, but many of them are in different parts of the world living their own idyllic version of happiness. And I'm beyond honored today to be with Sean and Christy, two of my dear friends. Sean and Christy live in Birmingham, Alabama, and they are founders of Long, Long Honeymoon. And we'll talk about what that is in a moment. But I want to preface it by saying Sean and I grew up together, and we've not only been best friends since childhood, but also business partners and travel buddies. And Christy has come into our life through Sean, and they've just really become our best friends, and to the point where we've spent the last 2 years of vacation with you for like, and I'm not talking about like, hey, let's go for a 3-day weekend. I'm talking about let's go to Asia for 6 weeks. And so it's pretty rare when you can find one person, much less two couples, that can do that and have as much fun as we've had.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, the last couple of years have been remarkable. I mean, we celebrated Mike and his wife Angela's birthdays in the Philippines, and then we celebrated again this year in Thailand.
Yeah.
And in Burma. So we've had quite the adventure. What we do at Long Long Honeymoon, we're about RV travel primarily. We have kind of embraced the ethos of do what you love. And about a little over a decade ago, about 13 years ago, we bought an RV, and it's an Airstream travel trailer, kind of the old school classic Airstream. And we started traveling with it. And it was right about the time that we'd gotten married. So we kind of took our honeymoon trip in our Airstream. And at the time, blogging was really hot. So we started a little blog called Long, Long Honeymoon. The idea being we were going to take a long, long honeymoon in the Airstream, just wandering around America. And also at that time, I started getting into filmmaking and loved making videos. And it just seemed like a natural synergy to make videos about our travels. I'll put it that way. And then we sort of discovered that RV travel requires a lot of education up front, and a lot of us didn't grow up doing it. So we started making videos teaching other people what we had learned. And I think that's when Long Long Honeymoon really took off, when we empower other people to pursue their own adventures and to travel and experience their own honeymoon.
Yeah. And, you know, I think if you and I have learned anything over the years, it's ultimately that if you're passionate about the subject matter, no matter whether that is, you know, humor or video games or the beach or RVing, if you're passionate about it, there's something about the authenticity that I think people can sense, you know, that your passion is contagious. I hate to use that word in this era, but passion is contagious. And, you know, you develop, for lack of a better word, a tribe. You know, our careers in a lot of ways have been built around how to aggregate an audience, how to aggregate a tribe around a common interest group. And I think more often than not, sounds like Long Long Honeymoon was similar to 30A, and it was kind of accidental, you know, in that I didn't set out to create a beach brand, but I just started doing what I love to do. And slowly you start to find other people who share the same interests, you know, and they start to aggregate around you.
Yeah, absolutely. I think when you genuinely enjoy something and you're just doing it and trying to share your enjoyment of it and your joy of it, then other people, you know, find that attractive, and it sort of just brings people in. So
we're also unique experts in that we have made all the mistakes. When we started out, we were novices, and I think people appreciate that we show our mistakes.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, we've had tire blowouts, we've run out of fuel before, we've camped in we've actually gotten stuck in the snow, like towing our travel trailer someplace we probably shouldn't have been towing it. But I mean, we've had a lot of crazy adventures over the years. And something I learned early on, actually, is that when things go wrong, that's when it gets interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And it's about dealing with adversity. That's what life's about. And as we have discussed, sometimes that's where you can find happiness, is in tackling the challenges that you're faced with every day. And like, when you get an RV and you get into RV travel, you're going to make a lot of mistakes. Now, I do think through our channel, when people watch our channel, if they're interested in getting an RV, they'll avoid a lot of the mistakes. They'll avoid some of that adversity. They're still going to have some.
Yeah.
But it's kind of
it's impossible for a trip to be perfect. So
Yeah.
I think preparing people for the bad days will come is realistic. And I think it takes a lot of fear away for a lot of people, because I think that's one thing that holds a lot of people back from doing adventurous things. They're scared. They're scared of what could possibly go wrong. And so a lot of times we show them, this is what can go wrong, and we survived it, and it'll be okay. It'll suck for a couple of days or maybe a couple of weeks, but you'll get through it, and you'll still have great memories and great stories to tell from the experience. So, and I think that's true in our international travels as well. Sometimes our craziest stories, that when it was happening, we were like, what the heck are we doing here? What's going on? Like I think about, we were on a van trip through the Atlas Mountains in Morocco. And it was one of those days where you're just like, I hope I survived this. And later it became one of our fondest memories. But that day it was kind of stressful. And we were sort of looking at each other like, what are we doing here? What did we sign up for? But that adversity, I think, is what made it exciting in the end, and made it something that we'll remember for the rest of our lives. And if it had just been a regular old day in a cab or a tour bus or whatever, we probably wouldn't think twice about it. So I think that adversity is definitely what makes it the adventure.
Well, and you guys also probably hit the RVing and Airstreaming niche at an interesting time, because there's several things going on right now. Even one is there has been a movement toward minimalization, toward tiny homes, toward understanding and embracing that experiences are perhaps a preferable way to spend your money, more so than possessions. And I'm not suggesting that RVing or Airstreaming is an inexpensive hobby by any stretch, but there certainly are people who are drawn to living a simpler life, which is very consistent with the 30A brand. But now we also have a global pandemic, and people are, concerned about isolation and concerned, about being self-sufficient. So, to what degree do you kind of see in the community? To what degree are there people who buy into the less is more versus they just like the travel, the lifestyle of camping, to be able to call their own shots, versus a few of the paranoid, hey, I want to be able to run off into the desert and live, God forbid that the apocalypse comes. So I mean, so in the makeup, in the universe of RVers, how would you say that breaks out?
We have all types in our audience.
Yeah.
I mean, there's definitely a segment of our audience that you might classify as preppers.
But I think that's a very small percentage.
It may be growing these days.
I think they recruited a few new members in the past couple of weeks. Yeah,
they're looking pretty smart. But it's that ability to live off the grid. Recently we did a huge solar install in our Airstream, which provides us, we've got a 3,000 watt inverter. We can run all of our appliances off of, we have 4 lithium batteries. And the point being, we could be very self-sufficient now because we're generating our own power now from the sun. And having that solar system in our Airstream, I mean, frankly, it makes me want to have one in our brick and mortar home, because just that ability to live off the grid is very empowering, and it's very attractive to a lot of people. And I would also say there are a lot of people who are simplifying, who are downsizing. A lot of baby boomers are retiring. We get messages every day, people saying, we're retiring, we're selling our brick and mortar home, and we're going full time.
Yeah.
And they want, there are a lot of people out there who've worked their entire lives for this moment to be able to get out and see our country because they've been plugged into a job for 30 years. They've been raising kids and they've had all these obligations. And this is their time to seize the moment and get out there and see this beautiful country that we have.
But I think we're also seeing a lot of younger people doing it now, because when we first started, we were pretty much always the youngest people in the RV park when we would go in. And I was in my late 20s and Sean was in his, mid to late 30s. And so it was unusual to see other people our age in campgrounds, unless we were at somewhere like Disney World or something. But nowadays you see more and more younger people doing this, and it's because of the internet. So many people can telecommute now. I think this pandemic right now is showing a lot of people that they can actually work remotely. And so I'll be curious to see how many more people transition into working remotely after this whole thing, clears up. But we see a lot more families on the road now. Their kids can do virtual school, homeschooling programs, and it's really giving them the freedom to see our country at a younger age. It's not something that a lot of people are having to wait for retirement for anymore. And if you talk to a lot of people, you'll find out there are lots of people that plan their whole life for this retirement. And then when it gets there, they can't do it. They've got a health issue, or they've got a family member that's sick that they have to take care of. So I think a lot more people these days are sort of, seizing the moment and getting out there now versus waiting for retirement. And they're finding creative ways to do it. So it's really interesting when we travel, the people we meet and, kind of hear their stories about how they got on the road.
And I'll tell you one other aspect as relates to this pandemic that's interesting. In RV travel, you control your space. You've got your own bathroom, you've got your own bedroom, your own kitchen, your own germs, basically, as opposed to staying in hotel rooms. And I think it's going to be interesting after all this shakes out to see how that affects the popularity of RV travel. Because for us, that's always been kind of an upside. And I've in the past kind of compared staying in a hotel room to staying in an RV. It's a different experience, to be sure. But, you go into a hotel, you don't really know who was staying in that room before you were there. You don't really know how well and thoroughly the room was cleaned and sanitized. With an RV, you got your own space. You know exactly what's going on.
The dirt that's there is yours.
That's right.
Well, for somebody, I grew up with camping to some degree. I mean, not RV early on, but it was really more out of economic necessity. Dad put a little camper shell on the back of the truck, and our vacations were always about 2 or 3 hours away. It was either Lookout Mountain in Chattanooga, or it was Atlanta, Six Flags, or it was Opryland in Nashville. And that was really the radius of travel that we experienced. And then as we got older, we got a pull behind camper. And for someone who's never done that, okay, for someone who's never gotten it, never been exposed to it, what is the appeal? Okay, because it's not necessarily a more economical way, to travel than hotels. What is the appeal? What is it that you think might attract the attention of a first-time prospect into the world of travel trailer camping?
Well, there's multiple differences. I mean, one, as I mentioned, you control your own space. I mean, not only do you know that the germs in that RV are your germs, it's all your stuff, all your favorite stuff, your favorite linens, your favorite bedding. You've got your appliances in the kitchen. You've got a refrigerator. You got your own favorite foods in the refrigerator.
Yeah, it's sort of how you pack once and, then you're good to go.
Yeah, I will say that when we had our camper down here in Florida, when we first moved here, I loved it because when it was time to go somewhere, all the kids, we have 4 kids. We had like a camper with 4 bunk beds in the back, as you probably remember. And, everybody goes and puts their stuff in the drawers. You hang your stuff up in the closet. You put the mayonnaise in the fridge, all that. And then you're done. I mean, packing is really no big deal. It doesn't have to be all in one suitcase. It's just you've got your space. And then when you get to your campground or wherever your destination is, it's all right there. And so that aspect is definitely very attractive.
Yeah.
Another thing that I really like about it is just the freedom and flexibility of we're typically living on our schedule and not someone else's schedule.
Right.
Like we travel in a slightly different way than a lot of people would. I mean, we've been known to leave for long-term trips. I'm talking multi-month trips late at night. I mean, we've left before. We roll out of Birmingham at 9 p.m. at night, but we can leave. It's kind of like you're sailing your boat out of the harbor.
Yeah.
And you always know you can drop anchor somewhere.
You've got a bed and a bathroom with you. So it's like, it doesn't really matter, where you stop for the night. You find a safe place to park and you're good to go,
And there are people, again, coming back to not really just the preppers, but retired people. You can go to BLM or Bureau of Land Management land, and it's all over the country. And there are huge swaths of land where you could just set up and just hang out for a couple of weeks if you like. And, usually you need to move every couple of weeks. But for example, in the American Southwest, in Quartzsite, Arizona, I mean, it's a desert landscape, a beautiful desert landscape. Every year, snowbirds flock down there, set up their RVs and hang out for a month or two. And it's free. It's free, by the way. So, there are a lot of things about RV travel that are, as you know, can be expensive. I mean, Airstreams are expensive. A lot of RVs are expensive. Fuel is less expensive these days, but there are a lot of costs associated with RV travel. But sometimes you can save money too by staying for free parking.
It depends on how you travel and how much time you have. As we know, it's a big factor. Once moving is expensive, whether that's moving through an airport or driving down a road. Once you're in a place, whether it's Bangkok or whether it's Yellowstone Park, once you're there and you're not moving, then that's when you start to realize the economies of the finances start to get back on track.
Yeah, cooking.
You guys have been,
versus going out to eat. You can save money those ways.
Yeah, because when you're in a hotel, you're going to go grab lunch or breakfast or whatever. But back home, in the space of your own camper, you're just pulling out of the fridge like you would at home.
Right.
Exactly.
So talking about the states, you guys have been, I know, to pretty much every state. I guess you haven't driven your camper over to Hawaii, but I know you've been to Alaska. You've been to have you been to pretty much every state at this point?
We've been to every state in the continental U.S.
We haven't. So we've been to 49 states.
Yeah. Yes. I'm kind of annoyed because we've been stuck at 49 states for several years. We just haven't made it to Hawaii yet.
But the Airstream will not make it to Hawaii. No.
But we've definitely taken our Airstream from Key West, Florida, all the way up to Fairbanks, Alaska. So that's a pretty good run. That's probably about 16,000. I don't know how many thousand miles.
It's a good run.
The Alaska road trip was a 14,000 mile road trip, leaving from Birmingham, going to Fairbanks, and we came back down through California and back to Birmingham. But that was a road trip that spanned at least
about 5 months.
Yeah, 5 months. That was probably our biggest one.
You got married in Key West, small, very small family only type wedding. You get the Airstream kind of on the notion that you may just flip it, that basically you're going to take it for a honeymoon and do a road trip and look around. Yeah. And that honeymoon continued and ultimately became the brand that everyone knows now as Long Long Honeymoon, and also Lo Ho for short. And you have amassed 200,000, or we're knocking on that door here pretty quick, 200,000 subscribers on YouTube alone. And not only have you become one of the, if not the leading influencer in the Airstream space, but to a point where even Amazon is sending film crews down to your house to shoot commercials with you. What's that about?
Yeah.
Well, I think people have been watching us for a long time. So they know us, they trust us. And if we say we like this or we like that, it's going to wield some influence, with people. Yeah. And so like one of our revenue streams that has developed over the past 6 or 7 years is we have a store on Amazon at Amazon.com/shop/long honeymoon. And so you could go into our store anytime you're shopping on Amazon. You could go into our store and make purchases, and we receive a small commission off each purchase. But it all adds up. I mean, if you've got 200,000 people doing the shopping,
and it doesn't have to be camping related items. It doesn't have to be things that we have listed in our store. People can just start their shopping experience on our storefront and buy anything that Amazon sells, and we get a small commission from that. So it's a way for people to support our channel without having to like give us money directly. It's just, it's sort of like dropping money in the virtual tip jar. If we've taught you something, if you've learned something from us, if we've made you laugh and you want to help continue that, that's a way to support us. So
let's talk about that. Let's talk about someone is out there watching this. They're passionate about a topic, ranging from fishing to surfing to quilting to pets to whatever it could be. Looking back on your progress with the brand and growing an audience over the last more than a decade, what would you tell someone who's been thinking about getting started? What steps should they take, or what should they do to ultimately find themselves where you are and actually able to make a living doing what you love to do?
I would say we live in probably the most incredible time to be alive that has ever existed.
Yeah.
You can do what you enjoy and be paid for it. And I will point out that when we started this thing, that map was not laid out for us. It was not clear. In fact, I used to make videos for years and receive zero money. I mean, as you know,
like I did it for a long time.
Did it for a long time, and really doing it out of an enjoyment of creating, making videos, and helping people. But now there are so many ways that you can be paid through creating content that entertains or informs or educates other people. I would say, like, whatever you're into, whether it's fishing or paddle boarding or sunbathing, I don't know, there's probably a level of expertise that you have that other people don't have and they would like to know about. And so, like, if you can boil your expertise down and figure out a way to help other people and share that expertise with other people, that, in a way that they find valuable, there's ways you can make money through advertising, these days, there are so many ways to make money. It's hard to decide which ones to choose.
So and I think that's important too, because I tell, fellow entrepreneurs or wannabe entrepreneurs, it's multiple revenue streams. It's multiple things. There is no, people come to us sometimes with a t-shirt idea and they're, understandably convinced that their idea is great and it's wonderful and that it's going to be the next life is good. The challenge is, you really can't predict Oprah moments where something goes viral and becomes huge, and really rarely does that ever happen. Usually it takes years of persistence and hard work and just perseverance. But beyond that, great example of what our company is going through right now in this pandemic. Fortunately, we had numerous legs on the stool. Now, one of those legs was our retail stores. Guess what? They're closed.
Yeah.
One of those legs was wholesale stores nationwide, 380 something stores. Guess what? They're closed. One of those is digital advertising. All the advertisers are shut down. Rental companies, restaurants, etc. We're very fortunate that we do have an e-commerce play. It's potentially enough to keep things going, but at least it's something, and you start to think about businesses now and you feel bad for businesses that 100% of their business is at a complete standstill because of the current climate. So I always tell people, you've got to be looking for multiple revenue streams. There's not going to be one thing that's going to pay the bills. It's all going to add up. And in fact, even if you had one multiple stream, it's going to be wiser to build up others. So tell me, as an influencer, as videographers, as people who are, living your dream, what are the revenue streams? What are the different things right now that are available to influencers? You've already mentioned, I think you mentioned
the Amazon
storefront.
Well,
Amazon, for example.
4 or 5 that immediately come to mind. I mean, the first would be, again, coming back to the Amazon store. And I say Amazon, there are actually other vendors that also offer affiliate programs. So it'd be affiliate revenue. So, I mean, for example, if you're into camera gear, you might affiliate with B&H Photo in New York. I mean, they're a huge photo site. But anyway, like through that affiliate revenue, it all adds up. As you build an audience and people make purchases using your online links or whatever, or your store, you'll get money. A second way would be through advertising. I mean, for example, on our YouTube channel, Google handles all the advertising and they place ads. And I'm sure if you've watched a YouTube video in the last 5 years, you've noticed there could be ads before the video, after the video, in the middle of the video. There can be ads layered on the video. So for some people, that's a significant revenue stream. You see, for us, we've chosen a niche that has an economy built into it. In other words, you get into RV travel, there's going to be a lot of stuff you got to buy. And that would be true of a lot of niches. Let's say fishing. You get into fishing, I'm sure there's just all sorts of gear and tackle that you buy, the clothing, the hat, the rod and reel, all that stuff. So we have those 2 legs to the stool. There is memberships. People can become members of our YouTube channel. They could support us on Patreon, which is a way for individual supporters to send you money directly. So let's say if you're a musician and you have 500 or 1,000 people out there who really love your music, and they might say, hey, we love your music so much, we're willing to pledge $2 a month, a cup of coffee to you to play your music. Well, if you get 1,000 people pledging, $2 or $3 a month, it adds up. And then some people will pledge $5 or $10. There's another way that YouTube is actually beta testing a new platform that we've been invited to participate in this week that allows people to kind of be members of your channel and for you to do private chats and meet and greets, fan meet and greet sessions, kind of like this, where you can meet your fans virtually. So there are more ways to make money than ever. And then, of course, there's merchandise. Everybody will do, t-shirts and whatever.
Hats and bags and all that kind of stuff. And then
the important thing is to kind of have,
if you want to do that as well, that's an avenue for a lot of people. We don't do very much of that, but it's an option.
It's a big one for people. People can go to companies directly. And we've been approached by companies like LL Bean and Amazon, for example, where they come to us and they've said, we would like for you guys to make a video that we will sponsor in a way to reach your audience. So, I mean, we don't do too much of that, but some people make their living.
Some people do one sponsored post a week on different platforms, and that's a large chunk of their income. So, it just sort of depends on your audience and if they're, hip to that sort of thing, if they're okay with it.
And coming back to the point about persistence, if you're just getting into this, into creating content, you can't give up after 3 months or 6 months or 12 months or 2 years. You have to keep plugging away.
All those people that you think are an overnight success at whatever they're doing, most of them have been doing it for a long time for no money. So I think if you're trying to get into this and you're trying to make money fast, this isn't for you, because
I think
that's going to happen.
I think that's entrepreneurship in general. People, I see it all the time. It looks very easy, what you do, what we do as a company. And, I can't tell you, I actually started a list a long time ago of companies that every time I would hear about a new competitor coming in, I'd be like, holy crap, and then I would freak out. And then 3 months later, they're gone, and they would. Entrepreneurs tend to come out of the gate incredibly strong, incredibly fast, and then all of a sudden they hit that 6 months, and they're not seeing their audience grow as fast as they want, or they're not seeing any revenue. And then something else comes along, something shiny that distracts them, and they run off in a different direction. One of the things that I think helps, number one, picking what you're passionate about, because you're going to be doing it anyway, right? And it's going to be fun no matter what. But I do think that people need to understand this is a marathon. You know, business is a marathon. It is not a 440 sprint. And if you sprint out of the gate, you're gonna burn, you know, pretty fast and have to drop out. I love what we accidentally did with 30A and what you guys to some degree did with Long Honeymoon, and that is start from a place of authenticity, of genuine passion, and really grow it more like a hobby. You know, don't bank on it to pay the rent or the light bill. Start something when you've got another thing going that covers your mortgage and that covers your food, but then plant seeds that are going to take a few years to grow and to take root. And when it starts to grow, that's when you really start to say, hey, okay, I'm going to start really nurturing this product and seeing how much fruit, you know, this plant will bear. I think that's probably a consistent story between most entrepreneurs, is that it takes a long time. And so for anybody coming in, to Christy's point, I tell people, don't even expect $1 of revenue for the first 3 years. You know, I mean, it really, because you have to gain trust. Yeah. With not just fans, but you have to gain trust with sponsors, you know, and advertisers that you're legit and that you're around. And all too often people come to me with business plans where they're trying to make the money in the first 6 months. And I just always caution them that it's nice to have that in a plan, but in reality, it takes a while to build a brand and to build trust with an audience.
Yeah, you have to realize when you're getting into it that it's going to be a long haul. It needs to be something that you are passionate about and that you truly enjoy creating content about.
Yeah.
And you'll develop a relationship with people and with your community. As you build your community, like there are a few people in our community who have been there
from almost the very beginning,
like for 13 years. Like there's this one guy in Maryland, and I know his name's Matt.
His name's Matt.
But he was commenting on our videos in 2007.
So that was the year we started doing
He's still out there. We've actually made a lot of great friends through Long Honeymoon.
Well, and as a follower of your page, and I want to encourage everyone to go, number one, YouTube is your primary channel. So go to youtube.com/long honeymoon, but you can get to all of the other channels, whether it's Instagram or Facebook or Amazon, through your website, longhoneymoon.com. So that, despite the fact though, that you've built a virtual following, you guys recently you threw out just to see what would happen, if I'm not mistaken, in Jackson Hole or somewhere, and you kind of invited some people to meet you in the real world. Tell me kind of where did this happen, and what happened?
We were camping in Grand Teton National Park, and we've talked about that area of the country quite a lot on our videos because it's really our favorite place to go. We've gone back there so many times over the years and shot so much video. We love it for the wildlife. We love it for the scenery and for the culture, and just the camping is great. So we go back there. So a lot of people have asked us over the years to do in-person meet and greets, meetups,
like a meetup.
And we've been happy to do it, but with our audience,
it's kind of an intimidating thing to do because you have to set a date and a time. And for us, that's probably one of the biggest hurdles because we travel so much by the seat of our pants. We don't know where we're going to be in 2 weeks. We don't know where we're going to be next Friday most of the time. So giving people a lot of notice is not something that we're not very good at. And so for this particular meetup, we were in Jackson Hole. And we were camping there in the national park, and we really only gave people about 3 or 4 days notice.
It's like we announced it on a Thursday for a Sunday meetup.
And we thought that maybe 8 people were going to go.
Where did you say we're going to meet? Like in the campground or what?
It's called, it's a restaurant that's actually inside the national park. It's called Dornan's, and they have a rooftop view of the Grand Tetons, which is spectacular.
The best view that you'll find,
like the prettiest mountains in North America. And we showed up there, and there were at least probably 40 or more people there.
There were about 50 people that came, and we were not expecting that at all.
But it really, when we meet people face to face in the real world, it really makes our audience tangible. I mean, it's humbling to me because
absolutely.
Typically when I look at our view counts on our videos, you know, when you're viewing things like that, it doesn't seem completely real. Like when you see that 100,000 people have viewed a video, it blows me away to think of a stadium full of people watching a video, but that's kind of it is. They're real people, and we do meet them out in the real world from time to time.
Yeah.
So let's talk about, was there an inflection point that you hit where it went from being a hobby or a side hustle to like, this is what we do now? Was there a moment, a single moment, or was there a video that you guys posted that took off, that caught you by surprise and made you think, I'm going to start focusing on this more full time?
There have been some videos that have caught us by surprise. And I would say one lesson from that, to your point, you never know what's going to become the Oprah moment. Like, you never know what's going to take off. I think Long Honeymoon reflects compound interest in a way of just plugging away at it week after week, month after month. I would say it started to take off 4 to 5 years ago, and a couple of things that changed. One, we became probably more dedicated to regular updates. And so I try to get a video up every week, if at all possible, at least one video that is, our videos are typically edited and, have some structure to them and deliver some information. I would say the second tip is really obvious, but if you can create content that helps people, I think people subscribe to our channel because they're interested in this lifestyle. They may or may not own an RV, but they feel they're getting something of value back out of it. I mean, you can deliver value to people in a lot of ways. You could entertain them. You could entertain them with your guitar and your voice. But for us, since I can't play guitar, but I can tell people about RV camping.
Something else that I think was sort of a boost for us was we did a program called YouTube Next Up back in 2016, I guess. And that was something that Sean applied for. It was for channels that had between 10,000 and 100,000 subscribers. And he applied for that through YouTube, and they selected our channel to participate. And they basically flew us to LA for a week, and we sort of did like a YouTube boot camp. And it was, I think, motivating, because it was very much like YouTube giving us this vote of confidence. Like, we think your channel has what it takes to be good, and we're going to give you a few tips and tricks on how to make it better. And I think that was a good boost. I
think the best aspect of that was meeting other people who were video creators and were doing something similar to what we were doing. Even if they were in a completely different niche or genre, it was just motivating.
Yeah, meeting other people that do what you do, and sort of having somebody to talk about it with, and
you see,
people that get what you're doing, because it's a lot of people are really baffled by what we do, and so it's nice to meet people that get it.
But these days, everybody's carrying around a camera in their pocket.
Yeah.
When we first started doing Long Honeymoon, I was lugging around a video camcorder, setting it on a tripod in campgrounds. I mean, most people, and recording the tape.
Yeah.
Most people were looking at me, I think, and thinking I was a pretty strange person, which of course I am, as you know. But so I think now it's much more common. You have more tools than you've ever had before. I mean, as you know, these days you can get for a few $100, you can get a wonderful drone and fly it around. You can get aerial footage that would have cost tens of thousands of dollars only a few years ago. And so there are more resources at a content creator's hands now than ever before.
Yeah.
And more ways to make money.
Well, and I think too, another mistake that a lot of budding entrepreneurs make is they underestimate the value of being highly niche targeted. That a lot of times they try to go too big and end up speaking to no one. Whereas, with something as specific as, you're not just RVing, you're even more specific to Airstreaming. Although, people who enjoy RVing certainly benefit from your videos, but, you've really built a tribe around what some people would see as a small segment, but it's not really small. I mean, it's exploding. And it's also, once you become the authoritative voice to that tribe, it becomes an immense opportunity and an immense responsibility. you know, because people are going to be making major purchases based on what you say. And they're going to be, perhaps more important than the money, they could be pulling off of an interstate exit because you guys recommended a campground or an attraction, and you know, they're looking to you for authentic advice. Do you have any examples of where you've given advice that it's really, really gone well and come back to you in some way? And then do you have an example of where you kind of said, oh, maybe we shouldn't have recommended that product or campground and only realized it later?
Well, on the positive end of things, I would say Grand Teton National Park, there's a campground there called Grovant. And this past summer, when we were camping there, it was the most ridiculous experience.
It was a madhouse.
Because when we were checking into the campground.
So we're friends with the people that run the campground. Yeah. They're actually from Alabama, oddly enough.
Okay.
Super sweet couple from near Montgomery. And they were joking with us because they were like, oh, all these people are staying here and they're all telling us that Long Long Honeymoon sent them. You know, they're here because they saw it on Long Long Honeymoon.
They're asking if you're here. They're wondering.
You're actually kind of torpedoing your own plans because now you're competing with your fan base to get that primo spot.
Exactly. And this used to be a campground that we could go anytime, and there was always a campsite because it has like 400 campsites.
It's the largest campground in the national park system, like in the entire country. And it was full every night.
They were turning people away.
And the guy who runs the campground says, well, it's because of you guys.
Yeah.
I mean, he said that directly.
Yeah.
And we had people coming by our camper every day. And we love our community. We love meeting with people.
We were meeting dozens of people a day when we were staying in the campground. And it was funny. One day Sean was editing a video and people were coming by to see him, and I stepped out and was talking to them, and I was like, I'm sorry, Sean's trying to get this video edited so everybody will have something to watch on Sunday, you know. So it was a funny situation to be in because, you know, all these people are showing up.
But that's a positive example because I know I can recommend that area with incredible confidence because it's so unique, and like, you know, there's not too many places where you'll have large bull moose walking through your campsite.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, literally that happens every day there. So it's a very unique experience. I mean, as far as if there's anything that's been a dud, we've certainly reviewed a few dud products. There's no doubt about that.
I don't know if there's anything that we've really recommended really strongly that's turned out to be a total dud.
What is you guys, though, you kind of have some sort of running joke. I can't remember what it is, but is it a banana peeler or what? Or is there something?
Banana slicer? Because sometimes, there's some ridiculous products on Amazon. They're just completely absurd products to begin with. And then if you go in there and you'll read the reviews of these products, the reviews are hilarious because people will spend a lot of time writing just elaborate,
thoughtful
reviews of the most absurd products, like a 50-gallon drum of lubricant. Or there's this one it's the Hutzler 571 banana slicer. I can't find it. It's around here somewhere.
It's here somewhere.
But it's basically a piece of plastic that you use to slice a banana evenly. But it's almost it's more work to use the banana slicer just to take a knife. And so it's just an absurd product, really. And so it's been kind of a recurring joke where I'll break out the Hutzler banana slicer as an essential piece of gear or equipment. Yeah. Because I mean, sometimes
it's a joke. There are some people that will take it seriously, though.
Yeah, we probably sold a lot of Hutzler banana slicers. It's
what are some of the and again, you know me, I'm always optimism and positivity and happiness, and but you know, being an entrepreneur and being an influencer, being a personality that is standing on a stage in front of hundreds of thousands of people. We all have our moments where, you know, somebody just cuts us down, takes the wind out of our sails and you know, gives a death blow to our ego.
Yeah.
For someone who is contemplating launching a business and becoming, whether it's an influencer or whether they're wanting to, how do you deal with that? How do you guys deal with the trolls of the internet and the people who try to bring you down?
Well, I have several concrete pieces of advice. The first is, if there's someone in your audience who's radiating negative energy to you,
yeah,
who's being a troll, who's just there
or to other
criticize
people in
and
the
complain,
comments. Yeah,
I don't waste any time with them anymore. I click hide user from channel. And what that does on Twitter, it would be block. You know, like you can block people. And the beauty is on YouTube, I think, and Facebook, they don't even realize they've been blocked.
yeah.
So like they're still out there,
Oh.
I guess. But that negative voice is eliminated from the discussion.
Right. We try to keep it a positive, happy place. So
now I'm talking about people, because there will be people who get in there and will personally insult you. They'll attack your appearance.
Yeah.
And I've apologized for that, by the way.
Yeah.
Well,
I was under the sauce a little bit. So
I don't even see your insults anymore. You've been hidden from my channel for years. But so that's the first step, is like, you have to realize it's best just to remove those people. Like, just get them out of your life, because all they're going to do is drag you down.
Like constructive criticism.
Yeah, I can take criticism or
but it's just when people are being mean or just being hateful. Or
I mean, and that's another thing. Yeah, people don't realize. Let's assume conservatively that 1% of people are jackasses. You know, like they're just jerks who are mean. They're angry.
They're unhappy. Yeah, they're unhappy. They're angry with life, and
so all right, you got 1,000 fans. You now have 10 of those people in your audience. You get 10,000. You now have 100 people. You get 100,000. You now got 1,000 people. Now I think that's a pretty conservative estimate, that 1%. You know, but now you've got 100 or 1,000 people in your audience. Or in the case of the 30A brand, we've got, you know, a lot of people in the audience who they're just unhappy people. So I think you kind of, one of the things I tell people, exactly what you're talking about, is hide them. And what happens is they're looking for reaction. And when they're not rewarded with a reaction, because you've essentially neutered them without them understanding that they've been neutered or knowing that they've been neutered, when they're not getting other people jumping in to argue with them or to support them, they kind of lose enthusiasm for it and go away. So what I found is, over time, you end up curating the audience that you want. You know, they end up realizing that negative, they don't necessarily consciously think it, but they're realizing, oh, nobody on here is being a jerk. Therefore, this must not be for me, right? You know, this is not a place to argue. So I think once you remove that reward, which is all they want, is attention. Once you remove that attention, they tend to go find someplace else to play.
Yeah, there's an expression: don't feed the trolls, because the trolls feed on that drama.
Yeah,
and they want to upset the response.
You. They want to see you upset. And I think the one place that is the biggest issue is anytime you do a live stream, whether it's on Facebook or YouTube, you know, you'll have these people that'll show up that may not even be subscribers to your channel, but they get a notification that a channel's live. And so they just hop in and start insulting you or saying dirty things or whatever. And you really just don't even acknowledge them. And if you can have somebody on hand that is deleting those people or blocking those people, that's very helpful, because if you don't, other people that are watching will get distracted by that negativity, and they'll start trying to respond. And a lot of times they're trying to defend you, which is great. It's super flattering that people want to do that, but it also sort of brings them down, and it's depressing. And so it changes the mood. So like he was saying about just deleting those people and moving on.
And also, you know, unfortunately, the bigger you get, as you point out, the more those people are going to be out there.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, sometimes all it takes is one negative comment to ruin your mood.
Yeah.
I mean, to drag down your day. I mean, I've definitely had that experience. And there have been times when I'll post a video and I turn away and don't look at the comments, because I don't want, I just don't like the negativity.
It's hard. It's personal.
I'll read 20 positive comments of people saying, this is a great video, this is awesome. And then there's that one negative voice, and it can bring you down. But I think,
isn't that funny that as entrepreneurs or as personality, you know, you take that one comment out of 100 or out of 20 harder. You don't sit there and focus for some reason on all the positive, like that one drives you nuts, you know? And I think that's something that really, it used to really bother me and get under my skin. And to your point, now I've kind of learned that I can't possibly please everybody, and you can't, there are going to be certain people who are just going to be antagonistic by definition, and you just have to really dismiss it and move on and focus on the people who do get what you're doing and love what you're doing, even if they don't always agree with everything you're doing, that they are supporters. Looking back at the last 13 years of the brand, is there anything you wish you had started or done sooner?
Asking people to subscribe.
Yeah, that's true. Because really doing it as a hobby for so long, we didn't really have the context of building a channel and all that. And I think if we had delivered a call to action to people earlier in some of those videos, we would probably have a much larger audience now than we do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so I agree with that.
It's so simple, and yet it is amazing what a difference that will make. And what I mean is, when you're writing a caption, simply telling people what you want them to do has a profound impact on the click-through action or whatever, metric you want to put on it. I've done generic posts where it's like, hey, if you love the beach, this is a great place for you, whatever. This is the community you want to be a part of. But if you tweak it and say, if you love the beach, click like and follow us, it's amazing how many more likes that will get. That there really is a giving fans a path, and a call to action, as Sean said, is really important, whether you're selling a shirt or whether you're trying to get someone to subscribe to your channel. Be blunt and be pretty much don't be vague. Just tell them exactly what they can do to become part of the team.
Yeah. And I think part of it too was it felt a little awkward in the beginning, like asking people to subscribe. You sort of feel like it's just a weird thing to start doing, but now it's like we say it every time, and it's important, and it makes a difference. So,
one time I remember wearing, I was met with Jeff Archer, my friend from YOLO Board, and, I was wearing just some regular shirt, and he asked me why I wasn't wearing a 30A shirt. And I made the comment that, to your point, Christy, it was kind of, it just feels a little self-promotional, and he really, corrected me and said, look, if you don't do it, why will anyone else? If the main guy isn't doing it, then, you're not going to inspire anyone else. And so I really had a pivotal moment where I started being proud and saying, I'm just going to own it. I'm going to get in here and I'm going to be the best. I've been an evangelist for so many other businesses over the years as a consultant or as an employee. And really with 30A, I thought, at some point, if I get out and evangelize for my own business in the same way that I'm doing for these clients, there's no telling what you'll see. And it really does matter. So I think as an entrepreneur, especially the type of entrepreneurs we're talking about, being solopreneurs and being people who are trying to do this from remote locations, if you're not going to do it, who is? You have to kind of be the marketing and public relations team just as much as you are the IT team or the props department.
Yeah.
Yeah, you really have to be a jack of many trades, I think, to be a content creator these days. I mean, our forte, of course, is video. I think another issue for people who are creating content is there's so many platforms to choose from today. There's Instagram, there's Twitter, there's Facebook, there's YouTube. And, on that point, I guess you have to choose what feels most natural to you.
Mm-hmm.
And if you see one really gaining traction, maybe double down on that one. I mean, for us, that one has been YouTube. That's where the heart of our community is. But we have a presence on all those different social media platforms.
Sure.
And some people build an entire business just on Instagram.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So what's next for Long Honeymoon? I know you just said you just outfitted your Airstream, refurbished it a little bit and outfitted it with the latest solar technology. And for anyone who's interested in that, and really whether it's living off the grid or whether it's just doing something cool. There is really a video series now about the step-by-step processes that you guys went through. What do you envision? You know, do you envision just, hey, we're just going to keep putting miles under the tires, or do you kind of envision taking the brand in a different way? Because I see you sometimes you have these other little channels where maybe you're sharing with viewers about your favorite camera or about your favorite drone. So is that something just that you're kind of playing around with to see if anything sticks, or is that just a different outlet for your creativity?
That was a different outlet that I started a couple of years ago just to tinker, because I love camera gear. And again, as far as following your passion, it gives me an excuse to write off all those camera purchases that I'm making. But it is something I really enjoy.
I think you were getting a lot of questions from people about what cameras you use, and it wasn't something that we felt like all of Long Honeymoon would really want the details on. So he created this other channel where he could sort of direct people to, like, if you're interested, check it out here. And he's really good at explaining cameras to people that are not camera people like myself. So I think that makes you appealing to a lot of people.
Well, you know, I mean, it is amazing. I never really thought of myself as a YouTube person, like user, until a couple years ago. And really, I think Sean and my children probably influenced me to get on YouTube more. And now I find myself watching YouTube content in my living room every night. I mean, on my screen. And so, for example, we're sitting here enjoying a broadcast through software that I vetted last night through an influencer, you know, and he reviewed 7 different software systems, and I'd already tried a couple of them and wasn't really happy. And so, you know, now I'm trying something different. So it really is the economy of influencers, how we really have moved to where you're going to find true experts in every niche. You know, like I'm going to find the guy who has the best video blog, and I'm going to find out what equipment he's using. And that does seem to be interesting phenomena in the space, that so many people just openly share what they've learned and the mistakes they've made. And therefore I can benefit from that simply by, you know, tuning in and watching. Is that, what degree do you think your fans are looking for that next generator or purchase versus people who are, what percentage of your followers do you think are not Airstreamers yet, but they're testing the waters and they're trying to see what this lifestyle is like? Do you have a feel for that?
I think there might be 20 to 30% of our audience are just interested in the lifestyle. And because I've gotten messages from a lot of people who've said, we don't have an RV yet.
We're thinking about it.
This is sort of part of our retirement plan. It may be something that happens in the next couple of years, but we subscribe to you to learn a lot more about the lifestyle. And then there are certainly a lot of people who enjoy those product reviews.
They want to know what the next best gadget is, or what can they not live without when they're on the road, or that sort of thing. Whether it's solar gear or an electricity generator or what have you. And a lot of times, you know, we aren't the expert on everything, and we're very upfront about that, but we usually will find the person that is the expert and talk to them about it and get the details from them so that we can, you know, share intelligently with our audience. So, I mean, in the case of the solar install, that was definitely the case. We were not solar experts by any means, but we found somebody that was, and, you know, he broke it down for everybody, and I think made it easier to understand and learn about. So
I know you guys have favorite destinations all over, and Jackson Hole being one that you talk about frequently. I know Sean worked in Yellowstone as a college age, an adult, and I use that term very loosely. But that said, I know you've also spent, and you got married in Key West, and part of the whole deal was that you were at a campground right on the water, and you had the Airstream backed up to the water. But you guys also come down here to the Gulf Coast, and particularly, I know you come down to scenic Highway 30A. periodically. And in fact, I know this because sometimes you camp in my driveway. And
our favorite campground is very exclusive.
It's hard to get into.
To get a
reservation there.
But you have done videos about this area specifically, and you guys have done some videos about the campgrounds that we actually have in this very small community. Pretty elaborate network of campground options.
Well, the Florida State Park system is fantastic. I would say like top to bottom.
Yeah.
On 30A, we really love Grayton Beach State Park, and we love Topsail too. But Grayton Beach is like right in the heart of 30A. You're only a couple of miles, if that, from Seaside, and beautiful beaches, as you know.
The campground's really nice. The amenities are great.
I love the campsites at Grayton Beach because they feel kind of secluded,
Yeah, they're very, there's a lot of, natural landscaping around each site. So it feels very private. And then the beach access is great. They have restrooms and everything over there. And the beachfront is just beautiful. Lots of space to spread out and not feel like you're, crowded or on top of people. And so that's probably our favorite 30A.
Topsail's great too.
Topsail's
you're a little farther
too.
from the beach, I would say, but they have a shuttle that runs to the beach. Sorry.
Excuse us while we.
You're the perching baby girl.
She was determined.
So what do you guys for all of your fans? I'm sure they already know baby girl, but for our fans, what do you guys do when baby girl? When you go on the road, does baby girl go, or does baby girl
She's gone to Disney World with us before.
She stayed at Grayton Beach State Park with us before.
She has, but if we're going to Alaska, she would stay with
my parents.
Christy's parents.
She's sort of our family dog, so she sort of goes back and forth between us and my parents.
Yeah, we sometimes say we share joint custody with Christy's parents.
Very needy, and so she doesn't like to be left alone for very long. So when we're on longer trips,
she's spoiled.
She hangs back with my parents.
Spoiled. Now, actually, you have pets. I was going to say a lot of people who have pets get an RV because they want to be able to bring their pet with them when they travel. It's a big upside. It's not like staying in a hotel where you have to find a pet-friendly place. Your RV is always pet-friendly.
Yeah.
So one of the things I want to suggest is that if you have ever considered camping or RVing and you're new to it, certainly you should go to longlonghoneymoon.com. You should visit them on their YouTube channel. I mean, you guys, I know for a fact, I've seen a lot of the comments, you've saved people tens of thousands of dollars because you make recommendations that cut through all of the learning experiences that you had to go through. And, getting started in anything, whether it's boat ownership or whatever, there are startup costs. So I know that Sean and Christy have offered incredibly authentic and helpful advice that are getting a lot of people into this genre where everything is new. But beyond that, even if you are an avid RVer or an avid Airstreamer, then number one, you already know about Sean and Christy, but number two, there's so many tips for places to go, unique things to see, unique things that you might not be aware of, because as influencers, you guys get contacted by people, saying, hey, check out these electric bikes, or, hey, check out, come visit us the next time you're in Virginia or whatever. So if you're interested in all aspects of the RVing and Airstreaming lifestyle, then look no further than longlonghoneymoon.com. And, for anybody who is an entrepreneur or an entrepreneur wannabe, I suggest that you follow them as well, because again, Sean is very generous with their expertise on cameras and drones and studio setups and all the other tricks and tips that are going to help you make a successful transition from or into the space of becoming an influencer around your own niche interests. Sean, Christy, are you guys holding up all right during the current pandemic situation?
Yeah,
it's an unprecedented time. I mean, because And it really obviously affects RV travel because right now a lot of the campgrounds and national parks have closed. So we're kind of in a holding pattern right now. We can't really take our Airstream out just yet. I guess we technically could. We could stay on BLM land, but we're probably we're going to wait a couple of weeks before we make any of those type of decisions. But we've been holding up fine. I mean, people are at home now. They're watching YouTube videos.
And so for those who are new to your channel, you try to publish a major video once per week, usually on Sundays. Is that correct?
Right. Really, I was thinking about it and I've done a little bit of the math. We've published at least over 300 videos, I think. And it's a lot of content. Yeah. So if you like binge watching or if you want to bring yourself up to speed.
Yeah, you can go back and watch from the very beginning.
Yeah, you can. You can watch them chronologically. We also have playlists. So like we have a newbie playlist for beginners. If you just want the basics. I mean, like even though we've been doing this quite a while, we occasionally circle back and discuss just the basics. So like if you are new, if you don't even have an RV, you could step into that video and feel at home and learn the fundamentals, So like this past week's video was one like that. We discussed the thrilling topic of propane.
How compelling.
But
it's important.
That's something we've got to learn about. And, I think it's important to cover those basics because that's intimidating when you're new and you're thinking about buying an RV. Those basic things are usually the things that are the hurdle for a lot of people.
But to Sean's point, everybody is now at home looking for something to do, looking for new things to become interested in. And, I think for years, I always thought about YouTube as essentially being a computer screen driven content and phone content. And now, really whether you have an Apple TV or any TV, you're going to be able to pull up YouTube videos and sit and watch. That's the really incredible thing about this moment in time is you can find exactly what you love. And there is somebody out there who is sharing compelling content about that exact specific topic.
Something else that's really compelling and interesting about this specific time in the pandemic and everyone working from home is all these TV shows that have been recording before a live studio audience and so forth with huge production values. A lot of those folks are working from home now too. The late night talk show hosts and that sort of thing. So like they've suddenly become YouTubers.
Yeah.
And so I wonder if after this, I think YouTube is really merged with television. It's just the way we communicate now.
Yeah.
Like, I think the younger generation doesn't really see much of a difference between broadcast TV and YouTube. They don't care.
Yeah, you ask our nieces that live in Washington, they're in kindergarten and third grade, and if you ask the older one what she wants to be when she grows up, she says, I want to be a YouTuber.
Yeah.
Like that's her.
Well, and what they're really saying is that they want to do what they're passionate about, and so the YouTube is just the conduit. But like I can't tell you the last time I've seen my children sitting around just aimlessly watching TV. Holly watches very specific things around cosmetics, very specific, and she will sit there and watch show after show after show of influencers trying different mascaras, different products, different techniques. Carlton is absorbing video games. He's watching, influencers who are personalities in the esports, or he's watching tournaments and he's watching, learning things to improve his game. You don't see kids just sitting around clicking the remote control like we did growing up, actively, desperately searching for something that would grab our attention.
We have a TV mounted in our RV in the living room area, and I was looking at it recently and I said, I am really thinking about taking it out because we don't use it. We're not looking at our TV. We're looking at our phones or our iPads or our laptops. And TV is used very, very rarely.
Yeah.
So that's the world we live in. So I think it's just a beautiful time to be alive if you have a passion and you want to create content and share and help other people, because you can make your living doing that. It's not going to happen overnight. You're going to have to work at it. You're going to have to choose wisely as far as your niche, and you're just going to have to put in, I mean, for most of us, you're going to have to put in what we call sweat equity and build it one brick at a time.
Mm-hmm.
But you can do it. 50 years ago, it wasn't possible.
And,
20 years ago.
It's the old metaphors, but every journey starts with a single step, and if you've got a 3,000-mile journey, it's that first mile that's the hardest, to get behind you. And once you're moving, you'll get to Alaska from Key West, but you've actually got to pull out of the parking space and get on the road, and I think for entrepreneurs, that's the biggest challenge sometimes, is just, it seems like Alaska's so far away when you're sitting in Key West, and how am I ever going to get from here to there? But ultimately it's that decision to put the car in drive that's the decision that ultimately separates whether you're going to be probably have a shot at being a successful entrepreneur versus one who just talks about it all the time.
Yeah. And to borrow, I could really do a better job at doing this than I do, but to borrow something from Nick Saban, the process. You got to commit to the process of doing the things every day to reach the goals. I think a lot of people, they see the goals, they want to get to the finish line immediately.
They don't see all the things that you had to do to get there.
You have to commit to the process every day. I mean, and for us, the process has been like putting out a video every week. We maybe grow our audience just a small fraction every week, but it does get bigger, and eventually you get compound interest and it starts to mushroom.
Yeah. All right. Well, I want to thank Sean and Christy Michael. They are founders of longlonghoneymoon.com. They have, you could be the lucky 200,000th subscriber because they're knocking right on that door right now, a couple hundred members short of 200,000, and that's just on YouTube alone. They are the leading influencers, perhaps in the world, in the Airstream space, and certainly in the RV space, and are also dear friends and extraordinary entrepreneurs that understand not just how to build an audience, but then how to make a living from that audience. And ultimately, it takes perseverance. It takes time. Most importantly, it takes getting started. So I want to thank Sean and Christy for joining us. I want to encourage everyone to go to longlonghoneymoon.com and subscribe to their YouTube channel, click on their Amazon and affiliate links. And I would be remiss if I did not accept their advice and tell all of our fans to please get notifications here on this feed so that you'll be notified every time 30A goes live. I'm now going to adopt that, Christy, as something because I've done a poor job of that myself. So I'm going to encourage everyone to visit them, visit us, and stay tuned because I really suspect Sean and Christy and I and Angela, I think we're going to figure out some more collaborations we can do, not just about Long Honeymoon, but I think there's some really compelling stories that we could be sharing, not just about our travels together as friends, but also about the business side of things to help others out. So.
It sounds exciting to me.
Yeah, that would be fun.
All right.
Mark said, we've been friends for many decades. We've had many adventures, business adventures and personal travel adventures, and a lot that we would like to share. And so this has been great. We really thank you, Mike, and thank you, Angela, and the 30A team for having us on.
Yeah, we miss you guys.
Miss you too. And Sean, I will see you in Call of Duty maybe later tonight.
You in Verdansk.
That's one of the things I look forward to as often as possible with all our buddies, including my friends overseas and our high school and grade school friends. It really is a way during this time of supposed isolation. Really, I think people are finding that they are more connected than they realize, perhaps more connected now than they were 6 months ago. And hopefully that is something that will stay with us as a culture long after COVID-19 has moved on as nothing but an unfortunate memory. But thanks again to Sean and Christy. And guys, we're going to sign off now. But for all of our fans, go check them out and stay tuned for more things to come, not just from Long Honeymoon, but also from 30A and the Beach House.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Bye.
See you down on 30A.
Thank you, guys.
Aloha.